No, we're not.
No, that's all
But
right.
we are here for episode 201
Wow.
of the Herpeticulture Podcast, part of the Herpeticulture Network, brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Use that code THN at checkout if you're in the market for a rack or you're in the market for the cage, maybe you're in the market for both. Hop on BlackBox. They have a giveaway. I don't know. I think they've started it. Let me double check. Let me look.
Yeah, I knew there was one coming
Friday,
up. I didn't know when.
Halloween giveaway at noon on Friday the 13th. So tomorrow is the 12th. Tomorrow is a giveaway. So hop on over to BlackBox's Facebook page and Instagram. Or if you're not on Facebook, obviously either or both. And give them a follow to stay in the loop with what they're giving away.
I mean, you should do both regardless, not just for the
both.
giveaway. You just gotta be in the loop, man. They're always doing stuff. They're always putting out new products.
They have some
Stay
new
in the
stuff
loop.
they're going to be dropping soon. That you should be keeping your eyes peeled for. So go follow them on all those major platforms. And again, use the code THN at checkout and save yourself a little bit of money. Their pricing, we've talked about, is very competitive with other brands.
Especially when you add that 10%.
That's right. You won't be disappointed with the quality. We all at the network stand by it. We love their stuff. We have their stuff. Can't speak highly enough of it. It really is great products. You like the whole point, especially like the XR16s and XR20s that Jake and I both use, is you don't have to upgrade your rack when your animals get bigger. Like, are you going to keep a full-grown female corn snake at a V35? Probably not.
Yeah.
But if you have hatchlings and you're raising them up, you can reasonably keep animals in that rack as they grow until they're, about the 2-year mark, depending on what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and it really depends on what you have. Some of them will last, It also depends on your feeding regimen. My stuff is pretty small at 3 years. So I can probably keep stuff for all of 3 years in most of these black boxes. So the XR16 and XR20 hold the V15s, V18s, and the V35S. So it is the short version of the V35. But if you're watching on the video, I have both right behind me. This is the the XR20 on stacked under a XR16, and then to this side is the V70 version. So really, to house some smaller colubrids their entire lives, you need 2 racks. Like that V70 will house a lot of stuff. And,
the thing people don't also realize is that you don't have to all, like with the XR16, XR20, you don't have to use just a single tub. You can mix and match. So you can have a row of the 15s, you can have a row of the 18s, and then the rest be 35s. Like any combination of those, it can hold like 1 15 and then an 18, or 2 15s and an 18.
The way it goes is it's 3 15s on one level, and then it's 2 18s on another, and 1 35 on another. So you can hold 3, 2, and then 1, just upgrading in sizes. And I've got all 3 sitting behind me right now. My baby hogs are in the V15s. They're doing absolutely great in there, smashing. And some of the grow out stuff is in the V18s, and they're growing out. Almost everything's about ready to get upgraded to a V35. And then I got some stuff ready to go into the XR55 rack that's in my living room currently, which holds the ARS 55 tubs. I cannot wait to get that thing rolling. It is a perfect rack for smaller ball pythons, sub-adult to adult colubrids, depending on how big, if the colubrid is. For those, I think they can hold. I plan on holding like adult female hogs in them more than adequately. Some larger, corn snakes and rat snakes, things of the sort. Pituophis for sure. It's a perfect tub for a sub-adult Pituophis. So there's so many options. Anything you need, they've got it. Like there's a lot of options, and For most of your colubrids, smaller ball pythons, a lot of people breed ball pythons and V70s. If you're into ball pythons, all you need is 2 racks. You can house a lot of animals and of all kinds of sizes.
Hey, even if you're not a rack person, there's a ton of cage options too.
Ton of cages.
We also have.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan of the BioGs, and then the XA Bio 3 is basically 2 of those BioGs put together.
Yep.
And that's just, they're such great cages across the board. They've done really well for everything I've kept them in. Sizes have been great. Lighting and everything has been awesome. And they just look good. Once I get the whole room looking, at some point when I can get rid of that giant Habitat Systems rack and just have a wall.
I was about to say, can you imagine a wall of just like 2 by 2 by 2 enclosures just all up there, man? Oh, dude, that'd be so sexy.
Look really good. And I like
really, really good.
They have the lighting set up too, so that you have so like example, I have 3 BlackBox cages stacked on top of one another, and then I have a stack of the BioG sort of stacked on top of each other. But they can all connect to the same power source. So there's like an octopus of sorts of plugs that the LED lights plug into. And then that plugs into, I don't know why my light just died. That plugs into the wall outlet, and you can control all those cages from one plug. So I find that nice because they're all there. Like the LEDs don't draw a lot of power either, which is nice. And
and better yet, what you can do is if you're running LEDs on everything, you can go get a timer from your local Walmart, super cheap. I use them and I love them. Grab you a timer for $10, plug that timer in, stick your power cord into the timer, and you can run all kinds of lights all on the same timer, and they'll all turn on and off at the same time. So it's a great option, and there's just so many options with it, between heat light, UVB, LEDs, in every size you can get. You can get heat panels if you want, all the whole nine, and then their engineering behind their new heat tape design, where they have the fail safe now, is also just like it's next level stuff, man. I'm not a big heat tape guy. I hate heat tape. It paranoids me. I've heard too many horror stories with it. That's why I run a lot of my colubrids ambient. But if you're a Python guy, you need that. You need that heat tape on the back. BlackBox has a fail safe that if anything goes wrong, it reaches over a certain temperature, it won't let it. It'll either shut off or it'll keep it under a certain degree, period. And then on top of that,
the probe holder too alone.
Yeah,
like that's just it's a small,
huge.
A small tweak that makes a huge difference. So they've made the probe channel on the racks is now snaked even more, so that basically the likelihood of it falling out and slipping out of the rack is very slim. Like you really have to not be putting it in there to have that happen.
And on top of all this, the way they worked the plug that goes into your thermostat that plugs into the heat tape. So they put it's a plug-in area at the bottom of your rack. So they give you a cord. I believe it's 6 feet long, but they had some people that like wanted longer and whatnot.
Yeah.
They made this plug to where it's just a universal cord that you can. It's a computer
like a power
cord
for a computer is basically what it is.
So if you want a longer cord, you can just buy yourself one. That's 8-10 feet long if you need that, and plug it up wherever you need to. That was another thing. So apparently some people were complaining about 6 feet. 6 feet's plenty for me, but a lot of people wanted longer, I guess.
Have the option because
absolutely.
My room, like the outlets are
they can be way
kind of an odd spots on the walls. So
so you
have
can
the option
to get your own cord. Come on, man. Nobody else has done that. That's the first time I've ever seen this, and this is the perfect example as to why BlackBox is making cages for y'all, for us. They're not making cages because they love making cages, but they're not making it easy for them. They're trying to come up with stuff to make things for us. make things easier for us. And it's
I
just,
consider them like the MacBook of
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
like they want you to be able to buy them and them last. They're not making racks that are gonna burn out in a year, 2 years, 3 years even. Like they want you to have to not buy more of them. Like there's no planned obsolescence going on with these, like you see with so many other products, just in general, not even herp related, but like things that are meant to only last a certain amount of time, so they force you to buy something new. Like that's not the case with any of the black box stuff.
These are the highest quality PVC racks on the market for the price. They're just as competitive as anybody else, and they're that much better.
But that lead time.
Don't even get me started on the lead time. Oh my goodness. I'm talking, you order it 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's all you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. You're not waiting 6 months. You're not waiting 6 months. You're not waiting a year. I know people that waited a year plus for their system. Yeah. That's enough time to get out of snakes altogether.
From other people.
Yeah.
With the lesser product.
You are. Yeah. It's a worse product, and it's not getting there on time. You're not going to have that black box. You're going to get what you get 2 weeks time. Best lead time in the business. Can't beat it, man.
Then there's some Venom hot sauce.
The best hot sauce you can buy, baby.
That's right. You hop on over to stevesnaketuary.com, get yourself some Venom hot sauce. Grab the whole set. Help Steve out. He's doing a ton of public outreach, relocations, does some rehabilitations, takes in some unwanted pets, rehabs them, gets them into the right hands. Does some snake removals in I think he's in, is it Shreveport? I can never pronounce it right.
Louisiana.
He's in Louisiana, and I did Shreveport. I butcher it every single time. But he's doing a lot to help combat bad information and teach the public more about these ever misunderstood animals that we all love. SteveSnaketuary.com, get the whole set, and then FulviusApparel.com. Also use the code THN at checkout. THN listeners and viewers like you get an exclusive 15% off of your order that you only get by listening or watching this podcast. I just put up that obsolete shirt. I thought you were going to come and be here tonight. Otherwise, I would have had the ones that Mr. Brandon bought you.
Man, yeah, Brandon, thank you so much, man. It is so much appreciated. That's awesome that you got me one of those. I cannot thank you enough.
He got you a Corn Star shirt, and then he's like, I want to get him one of those Serrata Forest shirts. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do you one better. He's like, I'm about to drop this bad boy. Let me go ahead and make one of these happen. So
awesome, man. Yeah, I really can't thank you enough, Brendan. You have been awesome. Thank you for the support and hooking me up with a shirt, man. It means a lot, It's
and you got a Corn Star shirt. He got you two.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm gonna rep that Corn Star shirt everywhere. My mother will probably not like it, but it's gonna be okay.
You're an adult now,
dude. It's so funny. Anytime I mention Corn Stars to somebody who's not in the community, they're like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, Corn Stars. They're like, "What is that about?" I'm like, "It's about corn snakes." It's great. So
I initially, when I decided to pick that as the name, I thought it was hilarious.
It's so funny.
Great. But the more I think about it, and the more as time has gone on, I feel like I
regret it a little bit.
I could have done better. I don't
know. It's really good. Like it's a very unique name. I feel like it's one of those things, though, if a kid wants to listen to it and he tells his mom he's listening to Corn Stars, it may not go down very well. But I think it's very unique. I think it's fun. I
don't know what else I would have really called it, though, because
Utatis cast, nothing else would have flowed as well, man. That just flowed so well with
I don't know. I just thought it was the best thing because I was like, I'm gonna start a Corn Snake podcast and I'm gonna call it Corn Stars and it'll be amazing. And now it could be the reason we don't get some guests. I don't know, but
it might be. But if they don't have a sense of humor, do you really want them on?
I mean, you already know sort of my policy. We're not in the business of begging people to join us. If they want to, if they want to do it, they'll do it. If they don't, it's all good. Whatever.
Yeah, that's fine, man. Yeah,
I'm gonna ask you like 3 times, and if I get the decline or sort of the runaround, like after a point, I'm like, moving on.
Yeah, that's fine, man. That's anybody who's turned us down. I get it, man. Not everybody. There was a guest recently that I really wanted to come on, and he gave me the maybe. he gave me the maybe, and then haven't heard from him since. So that's all right though. Some people just aren't about it. We like to get people that's like to stay in their corner. Like I'm not about getting the most popular people out there. I want to expose all these guys that stay in their small corner, and but a lot of those guys also don't want to do it because they like staying in their sector, and that's fine, man. I don't hold it over anybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people. It's just like I don't know, they're nervous.
Yeah,
they're just not familiar with it. Maybe they're just like, we don't do it live. We do every now and then. We do. I mean, aside from Snakes and Stogies, like we make sure we let people know like it's not live, because I know that can really be
nerve-wracking
people to get over. Yeah, because that's something that you definitely kind of have to do multiple times to sort of get used to. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever. It's no big deal if it's just not someone's thing. Like I get it. I don't.
That's fine.
One bit. I'm not gonna be upset. If it's.
It certainly wasn't my thing when we first started this. I get it, man. It's
forced adjustment.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. We've had a couple people on Corn Stars though that like Joe Peck. I really enjoyed talking to Joe. He was really sort of nervous, I think, about it because he'd never done anything like that before. And a lot of times it is the older generation of herpers that are, just because it's sort of a foreign concept in terms of like how it all works. Like there's multiple hurdles someone has to get through to be down with it. Like there's the technology hurdle alone of like, how my internet sucks. I don't know how to fix that. Like I don't know if I can use my phone. I don't know if I can use my computer. Making sure you let Chrome use your audio and your video. Like there's a lot of
right.
We try to make it as easy for people as possible, and I think we do a pretty good job of that. But
yeah, and it is.
Some people just don't want to deal with the headache of like trying to figure it out, and it's like, whatever, I get it,
Yeah, and it is very easy. If anybody's listening and we've asked you to come on, you've been on the fence about it, it's literally, we send you a link, you copy that link, put it in. If you're using your phone, put it on Safari, you jump in, type in your name, make sure your mic's working, use some headphones with a microphone on it, and
we handle the rest.
Yeah, this is what I use here. Like when I'm at home, these are literally the Apple headphones that come with an iPhone, and they work perfectly for the podcast. Like it's definitely not as high quality as it is when I'm there with you, but I mean,
no, but those do a good job.
No, they do a great job. I tried using some wireless headphones before, and I did a
they're
podcast.
Not there yet. They're technology, man.
I have some JLB wireless headphones, and I used those for Reptile Talk like a while ago, and it was great being able to talk with my hands and not deal with this cord. But I went back and listened to it, and I was so quiet, and I was like, "Fuck, man!"
Yeah,
like
it's just, I think when it's trying to like keep up with the video and the audio in sync, over Bluetooth with a battery life and stuff,
right?
Just because I don't think I've ever had anybody either on the show or that I've watched on another show that was using Bluetooth headphones or earbuds that it worked like it worked as well as just hardwired stuff.
The only person that really did was Kevin Barron with Mutant Reptiles. He was using wireless headphones almost the entire time until they died, and he was crystal. Like whatever he was using was perfect.
The battery on those things is just not gonna last for the 2 hours that we end up talking, and it's like as soon as they die, then it's like a scramble of like oh shit, or we get our ears blown out because all of a sudden that computer mic picks everything. There's a lot of fidelity like with those, so you hear it's a little chaotic.
Once I redo the room, I'm going to set up a corner I'm going to set up a table in the corner of my room and get an actual laptop and a camera and a real microphone. So I don't have to worry about any of that once I
I'm
do it at
almost
home.
positive I have extra mics here.
Well, that would be
because I don't
freaking
really
awesome.
get rid of anything. So all the mics that we've
That's the
used
best
over
way
the
to
years,
be, man.
well, like I'm using the Shure, so I have another one of those Behringer mics that we use that you use.
Oh yeah, that's right. That would
That's
be
a
perfect.
great mic for anybody
Yeah.
wanting to do podcast for $20. Like that
They
microphone, I was
man.
expecting that microphone to be straight garbage. But oh my god, I almost like it more than the Shure that I'm using, which is like
don't
4
I
or
still
5
use
times.
one of the
Yeah,
Behringers?
yeah. Things are awesome.
I might buy that thing off of you once I get everything sorted in here.
I mean, you won't have to. I have this one. I've got the NXL 990. Like, I've got mics sitting right here next to me that are literally cases are covered in dust. Like,
I will absolutely take one from me.
I've got stands too. Still, I think I've got all the stuff. I've got everything.
Sweet. Yeah, because I definitely want to get a little corner set up in here because, you know, even though Justin's close, it's still a 20-minute ride, 25-minute ride, and I've got to work early, so it is nice to be able to do it from the house and, you know, be able to go to bed that much earlier.
I can listen to music while we do it too when you're remote.
Oh, that's right. I don't know how you do that. There's people, I work at a restaurant part-time as a second gig. And there's people who work phones and stuff. They listen to music while they take a phone call for an order. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can barely clean snakes with music playing in my ears.
What?
Like, yeah, dude, I have a hard
I'm doing water changes. I either got music on or I'm watching The Office while I'm doing all of it. I just got to have something.
I definitely can't. Podcasts are different. I can listen to podcasts, and usually music is fine. But I find myself a lot of times I'm just going with nothing, you know, just raw dogging it.
Gotta have something I can ignore.
Nah, I don't. See, that's the thing. I get too invested in whatever I'm listening to, and that's where it's like I can definitely multitask, but I have to not care about one of them.
Yeah, I don't know. Like The Office, that's why it's like I've seen The Office the entire series so many times at this point that it's like I don't care if I'm paying attention. It's just on in the background. Like I put it on when I'm in the shower. Like it's on all the time. Like I pay for Peacock just to watch The Office. Like,
hey, do you have Netflix?
I don't have we have it, but I don't ever use it.
Dude, you should watch the show. I think you should leave.
I think I've seen that on there. Dude, I don't get to use our TV very much because it's usually co-opted by either the wife or the child. So
it's fantastic. It's so stupid, and it's like there's no plot to it. Like every episode is a different story, and there's like 3 stories in every episode. They're like 8 minutes long or something, you know. And it is one of the best things to ever hit the internet. It is amazing. It's great.
I'm not even like a sports person really, but they have those Untold documentaries on there.
Yeah,
that are really, really good. I think I've watched every single one. There's a new batch of them that came out not that long ago that I've not watched yet, but I freaking love those. They're so good because they're actually like talking about things that are interesting.
Yeah,
it's not just about how great someone was all the time. Like it was about like the Tim Tebow era of Florida, of the Gators.
Right.
That's one of the newer ones I haven't watched yet. And then what were some of the other ones? Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank. Either way, it doesn't matter. You should check them out if you have Netflix. But what is happening over there in your neck of the woods? You got some more babies. The last of the Mohicans are now out and about. Is that correct?
Yes. So I found them yesterday, but I didn't have tubs, so I had to go to the Dollar Tree today and get some more baby tubs and set those up.
The red lidded ones or the blue ones?
Yeah, the red lidded ones for the babies.
I've got those everywhere in the room right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm just sending a text real quick from my watch.
All right, there, spaceman.
Yeah, right.
Where's your jetpack there, Zuckerberg?
Yeah, so I had my Pasco County babies hatch yesterday or the day before. It was bad. Like, I've hatched, this was my 4th clutch this year. It was only from 2 pairings, but I got double clutches on both. So I had the last clutch of Pasco County's hatch, and I kind of forgot about the eggs. And so I didn't check on them for 2 days. And then I bopped in here yesterday and just like looked at it because I just cleaned everything. So I didn't come in here for, 2 days. So I've been crazy busy working both jobs and all that. So I bopped in here yesterday. I was like, oh, I should probably check those babies. And all 4 of them were out, like completely out of the egg. And I was like, shit, which sounds bad, but they're fine in the egg box for a couple of days. Not a big deal. So I let him hang out in there, and I think there may have been one that wasn't out of the egg yet. So I went over to Dollar Tree today and picked up some tubs and set them all up. And dude, those Pasco babies were complete opposite as far as like sex ratios on the babies. So I ended up with, because I got 4 eggs. There were 4 eggs that were good when she laid them, and all 4 hatched. Ended up with 2.2 from those. So from the 2 clutches, I ended up with 10.10 babies, which like you can't ask for better. There was one female that I'm holding on to. She's special. I think she has a neurological problem. She's assist feeding right now. She won't really eat on her own. So I'm hoping she moves past that and I can just kind of give her to somebody as a pet and she'll eat on her own. We'll see. If she doesn't get any better, then I'm going to end up having to put her down, which sucks. But it was a female. It kind of works out because I have somebody who wants a lone male. So, that's fine. So 10.10 on those. And then with the white oaks, I ended up with, what was it? 16 or 17.3. There's one girl, not one girl. There's one animal I have not sexed yet because it was a late bloomer out of the egg and it came out super duper small and I didn't want to sex it. So I still haven't sexed that one yet. So technically I think it's 15.3.1, which would be 15 males, 3 females, and 1 unknown. Just to verify the point system if somebody doesn't know. But yeah, it was a complete sausage fest on the white oaks, which kind of sucked, but it is what it is. I'm keeping 2.1 out of all of those. So needless to say, I have a ton of white oaks that need to go. If anybody's interested, I'll give you a deal on a lone male if anybody's interested in those. And then as well as the Pascos, I've got 2 pairs that are going to be available. Between 2 or 3, might actually be 3 pairs available after I give some to Chris, my holdbacks, and then Preston's taking a pair. So if anybody wants white oaks or Pasco counties, I can give you a pair of Pasco counties, or I can give you single male to white oaks. They're really, really nice snakes. Everybody's been super great. But yeah, those hatched, literally this week. So that was awesome. Little bit of bad, also with a little bit of good. My male Pasco County, I know I've talked about him. He was going downhill. He did unfortunately pass. So that kind of sucks. But that's also goes to say these are going to be the only Pasco County yellow rats in the hobby, at least for the next 2-3 years until I can make some more. So if you want to get it on the project, let me know. Cause I don't have a breedable male anymore. So I have to raise up what I got. So If you're interested, definitely let me know. But yeah, unfortunately, he passed. I'm not really sure. I mean, I know why. I think it was the change of scenery for him. He was a wild caught animal. He was automatically super shy. So him changing scenery was just fucked him up bad. And that happens even with not wild caught animals. That happens. They can be good for some animals who are eating. They get a plane ticket, and sometimes it can start just. And I know that's happened to you before. But it was not the case for him. He was already shy with the other owner, sent him to me, and I got him to eat twice and never ate again. And he unfortunately passed. I don't know what was up with him. May have been old age. That's the other thing with wild caught animals. He was a long-term captive, but he was caught as an adult. So you never know how old he was. So it sucks. It was pretty heartbreaking because he was a really, really nice animal. And I feel kind of responsible for him passing, but it's kind of a part of the game that we all got to understand. So trying to be in good spirits and move past that. But on a good note, the female Pasco that was egg bound passed her egg.
No good.
So that is no longer a problem. She's eating and thriving and just doing absolutely fantastic. She is one of the most docile snakes in my collection, which is kind of crazy for a yellow rat. I at least get a musk. But after she passed that egg, I pulled her out, handled her for a minute, and no problems whatsoever. She doesn't even musk. So she's one of the best snakes I got. I kept her in quarantine while the male wasn't doing too well. And then, so everything in there is probably about to get pulled out of quarantine. Everybody's doing really well. So that's all fine and dandy. Other than that, man, I mean, everything's pretty much the same, everything from Daytona's eating really well. I do have some new stuff coming in the next couple weeks. I am trading some Pasco counties for Pender County, North Carolina yellow rats, and then as well as another pair of Apalachicola white oaks to add to the group I've already got. Or I only have a pair, so it's going to make 2.2. So that's cool. Pretty excited about those. Hopefully adding a pine snake in the next couple weeks to put into my random mail that I got from Tony Mills. So yeah, some new stuff coming in. Luckily not adding any numbers, just doing everything for trading really. And yeah, it'll be good. But bunch of babies available along with an adult southern pine. So if you need a Florida locality southern, let me know. I got a loan mail needs to go. But other than that, everything's pretty much the same, man. Everybody's rocking and rolling, doing really well, and always hungry. So
Yeah.
What about you? What's new?
Corns.
Mother
of God, corns. Incubators turned off for now. We talked about in the last Snakes and Stogies episode, which was the week before last, the second hypo clutch, corn clutch hatched. And some of those, man, there's like at least 2 in that clutch that I definitely am going to hold on to for a bit. Those are all just really good looking snakes, man. There's that both those clutches, all 22 of those babies, all look real good. I had a couple in the second clutch that came out really small.
Damn, you ended up with 22 between the 2 clutches?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Might have been 21. But they've all had their first sheds while I was out of town. So I'm gonna start offering first meals this weekend. One of the 2 Bairds from that 2-egg clutch ate no problem. I haven't even offered anything to the other one yet. I just had a spare live pinky that I offered it and it disappeared. So that's good.
Hey. Yeah, that's great.
Everything that I got from Daytona is still rocking and rolling. Everything from Joe Peck is still doing really well. Just, everything, that stuff's in quarantine, and we're starting to get to the point now. It's hard to believe that next month is going to be November already and to start cooling stuff down again.
Yeah, I'm already like, holy shit! I just got my last clutch, or I just hatched my last clutch, and it's almost ready to go into cooling again. So it's about to start all over. So
and we're actually getting some consistent fall weather.
Yeah, surprisingly, obviously it's a little late for being where we are. We're a pretty southern part
I
of
don't
South
think
Carolina.
so. I think it's showed up
I
in
mean, people.
sooner than it has in previous years.
Oh yes, yeah, sooner than normal. But I'm talking like for people in like North Carolina and more of the northern states, it's been cold up there. We're just now starting to get some cooler weather, which is rare for us. But it's definitely going to get warm again. That's always a gimme. It gets cold for a little bit, gets warm for a little bit, and it gets cold.
I don't know.
Kind of goes back and forth.
See.
We'll see. Yeah, hopefully it actually stays cold. Maybe I can actually cool in December this year. Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm with any luck, man. I need to send a shed off. I have a Hernando County animal that probed female, but it probed female from 3 people who don't really know how to probe that well. So it probed female. It has not gone into a shed ever since I've had it, so I'm waiting for it to go into a shed cycle. And which is weird that it hasn't gone into a shed because it's been a while. It's been several months. It has not gone into a shed, so I want to send it off to Rare Genetics and just get a verification on the sex on it. But with any luck, it might be another new locality of yellow rats coming in that I can offer available. With any luck, we'll see.
I still have to send off all the rhino sheds. I saved all those.
That's good. Yeah.
I just haven't gotten around to actually doing it.
Nice. Yeah, I was pretty confident. I've been pretty confident with my rat snake babies. Those I don't really question. I've gotten pretty good at popping those. But man, those rhino babies, I would be so scared to pop any of those. But I noticed today because it was only a small clutch, I kind of tried to look at the tails of these rat snakes that hatched, and I was actually right on every one.
Mm-hmm.
That was at least male. I looked at the tails and I was like, this looks like it's going to be male. And sure enough, popped out 2 hemis, and the other 2 looked a little thinner. I was like, I think these are going to be girl, and I didn't get them. Of course, girls have a habit of turning out to be males down the road. So we'll see. Hopefully they stay girls. But yeah, so it's let's hope, man. Do you see any like variations in the tail lengths on the rhinos, or
I mean, I'm sure someone like Most or Stone could, given how many they've worked with, but to me their tails are so freaking long as is,
right,
that it's tough.
I got you.
I think, I mean, as they get to adult sizes, it's a little easier to tell just because the females they seem a little more little heftier, a little stockier.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask, as adults, do the females get bigger than the males, or vice versa? Or
I mean, so far with what I have, it seems like they're like, the weird thing is they're similar in length and stuff. It's just the males seem to be more streamlined, a little thinner.
Okay.
Even if they're on the same feeding schedule, I don't know. The females just seem to be a little more just thicker and just a little more built.
Yeah. I think it's really weird how, depending on the species, that is the case. And it seems like more with colubrids, the males get a little bit bigger. And then with boids, the females get a little bit bigger. And I think that's kind of interesting how that goes. Like with Pituophis, the males normally get a good bit bigger than the girls. But with carpet pythons, I mean, my females dwarf my males. So it's I just think that's cool. Something to look at species by species. And I know with like Drymarchon, like with indigos and why can't I think of the other big Trimarchon?
Creebies.
Crebos, yes. Good Lord. I know with them, the males get way bigger than the females usually. So it's just kind of cool. Something I like to ask with like different species to figure out, kind of what's what.
I don't know. I mean, with corns, I've noticed that 8 or 9 times out of 10, my females have way more size to them than the males do, but I also tend to feed the females more than I do the males.
Yeah, and that could also be a hobby thing, with that. Because I've got you've seen old Rico. Rico is a massive yellow rat snake,
guy.
and he's a male. I mean, he's every bit of 6 foot long. He's huge. And so I think with yellows and most of your North American rat snakes, I think it's almost the same about because there's some species that like the males and females don't really vary a whole lot. But I think with some of these yellows, like the males may lean a little heavier, but not by a lot. Kind of depending on the girl. So it's just funny to see that variation of all the species, and it also raises the question as to why. Like, why?
I mean, there's
a
biological answer for each
right.
case. That's what's interesting about it.
It always makes sense for me as to why females get bigger because they have to lay eggs and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always wondered why in some species males are the bigger of the individuals. But yeah, I don't know. So if somebody has an answer for that, Doc Wyman,
let us know.
Let us know, because I am genuinely curious why males would need to be bigger.
I'm sure it's multiple factors. I think it's probably it's natural selection over however many millennia, and then species. When I think of like Drymarchon and stuff, that's stuff that has pretty large territories in terms of movement and stuff, and so I think you kind of have to be the bigger guy on the block to really hold things down. So.
Yeah, if it's more of a territorial species, because I know male king cobras get a lot bigger than female king cobras, and I know those are a very, very territorial species. So they kind of have to be the ones to fend off any.
But it's the same way with tarantulas though, because female tarantulas live way longer than males do. They have way more body mass than males do.
Oh, so females get a lot bigger.
Females. Yeah, I mean, they get bigger, I think, more so in terms of like weight and mass. Like males will have like a big leg span depending on the species, but they're so much like lankier and like thinner. And once they've hit like that penultimate size where like they've hit their final molt and they kind of like they're now on their clock of like breed or die.
Right.
Like for that reason, those males, like their existence is pretty much to carry on the species.
You're right.
So, like they're like gone in a flash, like they're here and they're gone.
That's
like,
crazy.
They're meant to sort of reproduce as quickly as possible, assuming the female doesn't decide to eat them afterwards. So like species I think like that maybe are smaller and have shorter lifespans. Like they're smaller because they gotta be, they're more active, they gotta be out and about, they gotta carry on, pass on the genes before their clock runs out. And
well, do they get big quicker? Like, do they grow faster than other species? Like, I mean, not other species, like females. Like, do they get bigger quicker?
Not in my experience. Okay. Because you don't really know the sex of them. Some people can look at the molts and tell you what's a male and what's female. It's kind of tough. It takes some practice. But it's like not until they hit sort of a certain instar, like a certain size after a certain molt, that you can look at and be like, that's a male. Like they'll all look female up until a certain size, and then once they molt and it's a boy, it's very clear that it's a male because they have like no color to them. They're like really leggy. Abdomen isn't very big. Like they look like
I got you.
Like a really creepier version of a tarantula. I don't.
What about with
females are big and stocky and colorful and things like that. Scorpions,
Is there very much sexual like dimorphism in those?
In
with,
some
guys?
species, so like the flat rock scorpions, the males have like crazy long tails in proportion to their body.
Okay.
Like almost the same length, if not longer, than their actual body is their tails. And then the females have like a short, stubby little tail.
Okay.
But there's
But as
also
far as like
you don't
body
have,
mass, though, are they pretty similar? Or
yeah, I think your males are typically going to be a little thinner. Females,
okay,
I think, tend to again remain a little stockier. They hold weight a little longer than the males do.
yeah,
It also depends on how much you feed them.
yeah.
It depends on what instar stage they're at. It also depends. There's some species that the only way you can really tell is sort of the thickness of the pincers of the
Because
meatiness on them.
on males, the pinchers are normally a little bit larger,
Like
aren't they?
thinner.
Oh, okay.
Thinner. Some species it's more obvious. Some species it's not. Again, I think it depends on what part of the world you're looking at and what species. But definitely not the same as far as like the lifespan difference in males versus females and scorpions, which is interesting.
Do males live a lot longer?
No, they live about the same. Like the playing field is pretty even with scorpions.
Oh, okay.
Spiders, it's like that across the board with spiders. It's like the males are always tiny in comparison to the females, and they are there to procreate, and then they die, and that's their job. Like they've accomplished their mission.
Yeah. And I would think that's because spiders have so many babies. Like there's really not a need for the male because the new offspring are coming right behind it.
I think that's the
there's
same.
So many spider babies.
Same with chameleons. It's the same reason I think with those. Like there's a reason they have a ton of eggs and they don't live very long, and it's because like they're there to make more of themselves and then they're gone. Like,
but see, that's a little different. I feel like with chameleons because the females don't really live longer than the males, as far as I know. Pretty sure the lifespan is about the same on male versus female, but I don't know that for a fact. But.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in terms of like their mission is to make more of themselves, and that is kind of it. Like they're there for pest control, and so their main goal is to do that and then make more of themselves and then repeat. Like
it's actually kind of funny to. Not funny, but it's weird to think about that because like tricolored hogs are known for a ton of clutches. They produce, but they're also very short-lived species. I've heard that like 8 years
I think there's something
8 years is like old for a tricolor hog, and I think that's the oldest I've heard of is 8 years.
I tend to notice a trend with the species that reproduce like crazy like that. They
very proactive.
They tend to not live as long as a lot of other species. Like they just it's a bird shot out of a shotgun sort of. It's like your main goal is to cover as much area as possible and hit as many targets as you can with one shot.
Right. And I wonder if that's why, like, not really like because they produce so much is why they die early. I think it's more so like they die early because they produce so much. Like it's the species that have a shorter lifespan that have a very high, reproduction rate. They produce so many because they are going to not live as long as other species. Whereas because most snakes should live a minimum of, I hate to even say 10, but a lot of people don't have snakes that live past 10. Snakes should live 10 to 20 years on average plus, at least majority of them. But they all have, one clutch, a little bit smaller, but tricolors with only living, 5 to 8 years on average. But every year they produce, they're rolling out 3 clutches of 10 plus, like it's, that's a lot of babies in a short amount of time. So, I mean, there's got to be something to that, like there's got to be that.
Yeah. That I mean, like the Cyanea, I think we're like that to a degree where like she double clutched without a single hiccup. like
Yeah.
like it was nothing. And I think that's a species that you see is very common in their native range. And I think that's not necessarily like, I think they're not short lived, in my opinion. I think they live just as long as pretty much any other species, but that's just a natural driver for that particular species in that area of the world. Like they're there and they reproduce a lot because they have a job to do in the aspect of pest control. And there's a lot of pests, and so like they naturally are like, I'm going to continue to reproduce until I can't because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And then you have like the tricolor hog thing where it's like we're just gonna not live a lot long, but we're gonna put 1 million of us out there.
Right. And I think that there's definitely not like there are definitely species that produce a ton and live a long time. I'm not saying that's the correlation, but it seems like the correlation is if they live shorter lives, then they're gonna be one of the species that is very, proactive as far as reproduction goes. So I don't know, something fun to think about. I don't know. This is the type of stuff that always goes through my brain. Like, why does this happen?
Well, it's to me, it's interesting because like there is a reason for it, whether we know that reason or not. Like there is a cause for it. Like it's not random and it's not by coincidence. I don't think. I think a lot of it is there is a biological driver to it.
Yeah, and I think with some species, like with the Cyanea, I think with that, a more reason that they produce a lot is because the predation on them would probably be pretty freaking high. There are smaller species.
Those babies come out small, man.
Yeah, they're easily preyed upon. So I think there's a correlation with those animals that are extra small. They'll probably produce extra babies.
Which,
because of that.
Of Terry Phillip just hatched a clutch from the pair that I sent him.
There you go.
And that same pair, that female's still rocking and rolling. And I told him, I was like, be prepared for her to double clutch, man. Like, she ain't gonna miss a beat.
That's awesome.
But I think he had 100% hatch rate on him.
Very good.
Which is great.
Those are such cool animals, man. Like the whole Boiga, the whole Boiga genus is super fucking cool, man.
Yeah, I think I got out of those a little. I jumped the gun on that
a little prematurely.
I mean, I guess it kind of works out because I don't have the space for those again now. But one day it'd be nice to sort of get back to them because I did enjoy breeding them. The babies were fun to sort of get established and watching them, get defensive and gape and act like little badasses and stuff was cool. And fortunately, my pair was pretty easy to work with. They weren't a handful or anything like that. The female especially was pretty mellow. The male was a little more high strung, but they're pretty easy to work with.
If you got back into Boiga, would you get Cyanea again, or would you try something?
I'd probably get a pair of them again, yeah. And then I definitely, my original plan with getting into that genus and sort of pursuing it was to get into Melanota and some of those other species.
Which Melanota are the mangrove?
That's right? Like the big Melanota.
Yeah, those are the big boys. Yeah.
But then I mean, like the black-headeds, the Sulawesi's.
Yeah, those are cool.
There's a handful of species there, man. There's so many species in that genus that we don't have in the hobby or even in Europe. And we probably never will unless India decides to open their borders, which I doubt is going to happen in terms of export. But if you like, that genus is so much cooler and bigger than people realize.
Yeah,
like, there's so many species, man, that I had no idea exist until I started digging more into that genus. And it's just mind blowing. Like some of the stuff that is in India. And one of the reasons I like India is so high on my list is like, there's so many species of Boiga that I would love to go there and see.
Yeah.
It's such a cool genus, such a unique genus. They were really fun to keep. Really just interesting fucking alien like snakes, man. They're just they were like something from another planet. They're just odd. Like their giant heads and their giant eyes and
tiny bodies.
yeah, and the scale on them too. Like the scale, they have these really big plate like scales that run right along their spine down the back.
Right.
And I've always been curious as to sort of what the purpose of that was for. It's a cool genus. Same with Toxicodryas. There was that's like, they used to be Boiga at one point. It's like the African version of Boiga, basically. You know, there's the blanding eye and the pulverulenta, I think is the name, but I've seen more of those for sale and stuff in the last couple of years, which has been kind of cool. But there's the multicincta and the Boiga. The divergens obviously are freaking incredible.
And I know we can't have them, but the irregularis are cool as shit, man.
Yeah, especially the Aussie stuff, man.
Oh,
like
man,
the
I would love to
you
get some of those.
Those night tiger forms are just
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Yeah, they're so cool. I don't. We can't have them here, can we?
Mm-mm.
No. Yeah, that would be such a cool species. I think it's one of those like don't ask, don't tell species, but like I know
the funny thing is like they're banned in Florida.
Yeah, for sure.
But I never see, like, why would they be banned in Florida if you can't even really get them in the first place?
Right.
I don't know, but
because they're native to Papua New Guinea as well, aren't they?
They've got so there's like there are now 2 species technically.
Oh.
And there's this sort of bowl that goes between Australia and Indonesia. And I can't remember if it includes Papua or excludes it. But basically anything inside of that bubble is like the Australian forms that we all love. And then everything outside of that is the quote unquote new species. And it's the stuff that isn't like banded necessarily, like sort of the more drab brown and orange kind of looking irregularis. I'm trying to remember what the new name is for them, but
shit, that would be fine with me, man. I'm an Indo guy when it comes to boids, and it would be really cool to get an Indonesian regularis. But probably not gonna happen.
The whole genus is awesome, man. It's,
the whole genus is sweet, man.
It's a really rewarding species, and breeding them. I mean, breeding them was the Cyane in particular was actually ridiculously easy.
You didn't even do anything with
hatching
those.
Wasn't a problem. You know, sort of the only struggle was getting babies established, but even then that was just kind of assisting tails until they decided to start taking off on their own, which got me really good at assisting tails.
Yeah.
To the point now where it's like I can do it in 30 seconds. Like
I was about to say, you can do that shit with your eyes closed now.
Yeah. I'm doing that with that baby chondro from Olsen that I got.
You're assisting tails?
Yeah, until it sort of decides to start taking off. I tried sending with chick down and nothing. I don't think I tried frog leg. I wanted to.
You should give it a go, man.
I wanted to, but I didn't. I was too lazy to pull out a leg, thaw it some, cut off some meat, and then put it. Figure out what the hell to do with it afterwards. But
yeah, you should give that a go, man. Because I feel like, especially green trees, I feel like lizard and frog scent would probably go the farthest because in the wild, that's going to be the most natural food source. Very tiny frogs and very tiny lizards,
So like, Kevin Barron sent me some leopard gecko skin to scent for the rhino babies because that worked for him on some. And I actually tried that with that green tree, and I didn't get much of a reaction either. But it's a runner, so that's kind of the issue. It doesn't strike.
Right.
It's not a high strung baby that's like striking constantly. It's a runner, so those are kind of the most difficult of the bunch to sort of really get off the ground. But I mean, it's growing, and it seems like it's doing fine. I'm not having any issues. It's active at night and stuff. It's doing everything it should do.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the waiting game now. So
it's the waiting game, man. Yeah.
And something else I thought of was like taking a rat, like one of the bigger rats, and cutting those, like the frozen ones, and cutting those tails into like bigger chunks.
That's what
that would be a good alternative to like a pinky.
That's what Preston does with Converse constrictors and Smoky Mountain feeders. He does rat tails, at least like partial chunks, because they're just like a little bit bigger, a little bit more protein in there.
Yeah, there's a lot more substance to them for sure than mouse tails.
It'd be a good alternative, man. Yeah, especially if you're already feeding. If you wanted some, you don't feed any big rats, do you? Well,
No,
I feed mediums every week, so if you wanted a medium rat
I've got
tail,
some rats in the freezer now that
okay.
I need to bag them up still, but
Well,
yeah,
if you
I
need
feel like you cut
to
those
get
up.
rid of them, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna do anything with them except for get the tails, but
I need some big ones.
I got plenty.
Let's go.
But I think like taking one of those and cutting it like a decent size piece of a rat tail, at least like towards the base. That's got to be more, if not the same amount, if not more substance than a pinky
right.
upper.
And I feel like it would almost be better because it's not as long, like it gets down into the stomach a little easier, versus, a longer piece of mouse tail. But yeah, I think you should try it, man. I think it'd be a good source.
I watched one of the rhinos eat a Rosie last night, which I thought was pretty cool because I haven't actually seen them eat it yet. It's just been one of those things where I put it in there and then I come back, 2 hours later and they're just gone.
Yeah.
So I went to PetSmart yesterday after work, and I guess they're short staffed, and I ended up waiting around for about a half hour to get some Rosies and some crickets for the Ackies. And I guess the lady, out of pity or just thanks for waiting, gave me like 8 Rosies instead of the 4 that I needed, and then like 40 crickets instead of the 20 that I needed. She like just she didn't even count them. She's just like, here you go. Yeah. I was like, okay. And so I ended up giving each of the rhinos 2 Rosies because I don't have anything else to do with the other ones. Like, I put them in the freezer, but they're not going to eat them because I've tried the frozen thawed Rosies before and they wanted nothing to do with them. Which sort of just cements the thinking that it's all about the movement with the rhinos. But I watched one because they haven't eaten. It's been probably 2 weeks since I fed them last because we were gone out of town, last weekend. But that was good because I think it also gave them time to get kind of good and hungry. And I watched one catch one of those Rosies, and you would think that they would struggle with that and that it would take a while. Dude, that thing grabbed a Rosie and downed it in like less than 30 seconds.
Jesus.
Like
from
in the water,
ambush standpoint to going into the water. And
it was just in the water. It was sitting there and I saw it watching them. It would because they do this thing where when they're watching something, they twitch their head like this. They're scanning.
Yeah.
And so I watched it grab one, wrap it briefly, and then eat it. And then it waited for the second one, grabbed the second one, and ate it. And then I woke up this morning and there were still 2 or 3 of the 5 that hadn't taken yet, but then I came home from work and they were all gone.
Nice.
So that'll be good. Man. That'll put some nice weight on them, and then I'm gonna really start offering trying to get pinkies going on.
I'll say do that pinky in the water trick, man.
I've tried that a couple times, man, and it just doesn't.
Just give them a little time. Give them a little time. Keep on trying it.
It doesn't. It's just not that simple. I don't know. This has been a learning experience, which is good. I got one to take a pinky about 2 weeks ago the weekend before we left, and so that one I feel like is going to transition. It's getting to the point now where it'll start moving over, and then the other ones, I've offered it to them, and there's just no real response. But now that they're kind of starting to get a little bit of size on them, and they're getting a little bit of mass to them, I can move away from the Rosies a little more because I think they can more comfortably take a pinky now that they've got at least a little bit of size to them. Because even day-old pinkies in comparison to baby rhinos are still a pretty decent sized meal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we'll see. But yeah, just a ton of babies. I gotta start figuring out a game plan with all these hypos. I have the twins together. I got twins out of that clutch, that second clutch.
Yeah, I heard
So
about that.
I kept those together
Thanks,
just so I could keep track of them in comparison to everyone else. And then I ended up preserving that two-headed one.
Nice.
I finally got around. I put it in the freezer and I preserved it the other night in a little jar with some good old Everclear. I like that stuff more than I like isopropyl alcohol. It's 190 proof, so I feel like it does a little bit of a better job. And yeah, now I have a ton of stuff available. If anyone has any corns, you need corns, hit me up.
Yeah,
I'm straight up like I'm about to start hitting some people up that do like wholesale and being like, look, I will trade you X amount of corns for an imported BBOC chondro.
right.
Like, I have no issues doing that. Like, I'm trying to downsize, and I'm more than willing to trade as long as it's for stuff that I'm actually like wanting to work with, you know. So,
and I'm sure you'd also be willing to sell a group at a discounted rate if somebody doesn't have something to trade.
Yeah.
So I'm the same, man. I got a ton of babies that need to go. So I mean, not a ton, but enough. So if anybody's interested, let me know.
It's such an odd time right now. It's it sounds like in the Corn Stars chat we were talking about Tinley because Eric Westmoreland vended, and he said he had a great show. Like he sold a lot of stuff. He said it sounds like it was pretty much the complete opposite of Daytona, which is interesting. I mean, I think everything that we've got going on right now with it not really being people aren't really buying a whole lot is, you know, obviously the economy overall is not great. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see what happens next year. I think maybe I'm looking at the glass half empty, but I don't really see things getting any better between now and this time next year. I think things are going to get especially squirrely as we get closer to the next election, because most elections, the economy gets a little wonky around election time.
Right.
We'll see. I mean, I guess it could turn around. Who knows? I mean, crazier things have happened, but that's something we were sort of discussing in the group was like, you know, what do we think 2024 is going to look like? And a lot of them were saying it. They think it's gonna pick up and that things are gonna sort of start going back to normal. That currently what we're dealing with is sort of a direct response to COVID. You know, when we had stimulus money, we had all the other things, and people had more time. They were at home more. This is sort of the opposite swing of that pendulum.
And I think it really depends, man, like on the species you're working with. Because I mean, I know, I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, I just sold 7 carpet pythons in a weekend." You know, like it really just depends. You know, it may have been one of those things. The big corn snake people bought out all the corn snakes they wanted, you know, during the whole COVID thing, and everybody had a little spare money and bought, you know, 20, 30 corn snakes, and we're like, all right, I'm good, you know. Like so it might be one of those scenarios, you know. It's really hard to tell, you know. I think some species are selling a little better than others. You know, I think it's a mixture. I think it's just a mixture of everything, man. Like it's hard to tell, you know. There's going to be ups and downs, just like with any business, you know.
Eric was also saying he noticed a good bit of like the ball python breeders were kind of walking around eyeballing some colubrid tables. So he was
because I think
maybe
colubrids are
switching over, like jumping ship on the ball python thing, which to me, I
don't see anybody jumping ship, but I see more people expanding. That's kind of how I see it. Like I don't think anybody's gonna jump ship on ball pythons.
I mean, they're never gonna there's not gonna disappear, but I think people that are doing it from more of a business perspective of like they're doing ball pythons and currently they're not being able to pay their bills with ball pythons, are now starting to look at other avenues.
Right, and that's what I mean. It's more so of an expansion of what they have versus getting out of something. Like instead of investing in more ball pythons, I'm going to keep the balls that I have and get more colubrids, type of thing. I'll be honest. If I was a betting man and I wanted to get into a new species, I would get into false water cobras. That's one of the species I see kind of expanding a lot. With how good Zach Lothman is doing with them.
And I hope not.
Yeah, it's one of those. I almost hope not, but
It
at the
seems
same
like
time, like it would make sense. That's just me.
that's a lot of snake, man.
There's a lot of snake.
Not necessarily just in the size aspect, but just like the personality and the the food drive and the just you get a big falsy, man. That's a handful.
Yeah, if I had the space, I would 1000% have them. I absolutely love false water cobras, and I would give up a lot of shit to be able to have them. But that's the thing. I like all the stuff I have, and I would have to give up a lot to have them. So
Yeah.
I'm not, but I do see them grow. I've already seen them growing in popularity. Especially with what all the stuff Zach's doing with them in the new book. Like I do see them growing in popularity here in the next couple of years. But
He's definitely been cranking them out.
Yeah, I see those growing in popularity. I see Barons growing in popularity.
Ew.
Not ew. Like a lot of guys at Daytona who had Barons did very well with their Barons. I know Sky had some available and he sold all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I see some of those kind of niche species getting a little bit more popular.
Yeah, I think it's been on that sort of path for a couple of years now. I think people are starting to branch out and realize there's more going on than sort of the bread and butter of the hobby. But
like I think your rhinos, if you post any of those babies available, I think they'll be gone in a New York minute.
Oh yeah, I have people message me about them all the time. I'm just like, I've got one person that has been asking me about them like for the last since I started even pairing them. So he's gonna get first rights. And he just needs a male, so that's part of the reason why I need to get these sheds sent off.
Right.
But it's also been one of those things where I'm like, just check back with me because like they're not even close to ready. So
right.
Yeah, I just need to get them sexed so I know what I got going on.
And I also think a lot of this, like every year we have more and more people coming into the hobby. So I think as another generation starts to get a little older and get into snakes, I think we're going to see more and more people buying snakes. Like there's every year there's more and more people getting into this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a matter of time for a bigger swing of a new generation wants to get into the hobby, and then it's going to go through a big shift of a lot of people want to buy snakes, and then it's going to be that way for three, 4, 5 years. It's a circle of life. It's just there's ups and downs, man, and it's just you never know. You never know.
I mean, my main sort of the thing that I thought, as far as the idea of people that are purely in the ball game, shifting gears into other stuff, was like, well, that's kind of how we got to the point we are with the ball python thing.
Yeah, and
so it's like if we're just gonna do that, and I see that happening with hog noses in particular. I see.
Yeah,
hog noses are, in my opinion, the only thing currently that even comes close to the potential for the next sort of craze in terms of breeding like we've seen with ball pythons.
I mean,
the only other species I see coming close to that is right now is hognoses. Like corns,
I think corns are already there though.
I don't really think they are though.
From what I see, like corn, like at Daytona, there was just as many corns there as there were ball pythons. You know, that's my
but I mean, you don't
opinion,
see
but
$700 corns.
well, yeah, but that's the biggest thing. Yeah, with hogs, there's the price difference with hogs. But I think as far as like a numbers level, I think corns are right up there with ball pythons. And I think that's half the problem with corns is there are so many corn snakes available. With hogs, the price is there along with ball pythons, but the numbers aren't there yet. But I agree with you in saying that I think hogs are going to get to that point.
I think hogs have the pyramid scheme going on that balls did at one point, you know, however many years back. I think we're at that point where hogs now have a couple of those morphs that are crazy expensive that, you know, a handful of people are going to get and they're going to breed, and then that's going to work its way out into more people. And so the price is going to drop until the next thing shows up and then starts all over again until we get to the point to where we are sort of with ball pythons. And
it's just not there as far as different morphs as there are with balls. Like granted, hogs are like, I think exactly. I think we're just scratching the morph game with hogs. You know, I am into hogs on a very minute scale. Like I pretty much have what I want, and like I'm good with just a few animals, you know. But there's definitely not as many morphs with hogs, but we're just kind of scratching the surface on all the morphs that could be there, you know. I think balls really have the monopoly on different variations. Like there are so many morphs in ball pythons. It's fucking insane. You know. Hogs might get there, they might not. You know, the ceiling might not be as high with hog noses. So I think I see us running out of morphs before hogs or before balls as far as hogs go. But you know, I do see price drops coming down a lot, and it's so funny, man. You know, even looking at hogs from when I was first getting in, kind of not into the hobby, but like getting a little interested in hogs. You know, it was 2000 when I was in high school, 2013 or 14, more like 12 or 13. You know, a Super Conda was $3,000, you know, and now a Super Conda you can pick up for, you know, a few $100. So it's definitely shifting that way. But you know, that's time will tell. You know, if new stuff keeps coming, the more new morphs that come out, the more the older morphs get devalued.
Well, to me, it's the hogs have the rat race factor.
Yeah, everybody's
chasing the first
the
one
thing.
to get the thing, and then be the first one to get it and cash out on it before it, it drops. I feel like corns, it doesn't. It's like that's not really a thing as much with corns anymore. Like there's very few newer things coming out in corns that are demanding insane prices.
Yeah, there's
the paywall has always been considerably smaller in getting into corns than it has with the hogs or balls, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't really know why. You know, might be you know, with balls I don't get it. With hogs, I kind of get it because as babies they're a pain in the fucking dick. You know, like they are annoying babies, so I can definitely understand a little bit of a price jump with hogs, and they are more desirable just because of the size. With hogs, you know, they're a much smaller species, so I do get that apart from corns. But yeah, with corns, I mean, there's almost no single gene or even double gene animals you can't get with, you know, a few $100. You know, I don't think there's a single gene corn that sells for more than $300-$400, if that.
So apparently the guys at NBK at Tinley over the weekend they brought in a new morph from Canada.
Oh.
I don't think we don't have any like sort of background information on it yet to know exactly what's going on, but apparently the bellies are like completely black. The pictures that I saw were pretty interesting. I think they're calling it a matrix or something like that. I don't know. That stuff kind of always makes me a little apprehensive just because of the number of like new morphs and corns that have come along, and it's like, oh, it turns out it's an intergrade or a hybrid.
For me, it's like, is this a new morph or is this a combo? You know what I mean? Like, is this a combo of like 2 or 3 morphs and you're slapping a label on it and that's
I
what it
haven't
is?
seen anything like
or
it.
is this
It did look like something new, like it wasn't
Right.
anything recognizable.
Okay.
I just like, I'm not going to be the first person to jump on that bandwagon and get excited about it until I sort of know exactly what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone should just, if you want something that holds its value for eternity, just get the chondros. Be a higher class citizen.
Yeah.
Be part of the elite.
But I think with rat snakes in general, you know, as far as corns,
you see it?
Yeah, I see the run PNG.
Remember when I used to do a chondro podcast? And it
yeah,
sucked?
that was cute. But I think with like rat snakes in general, whether it be, you know, corns, yellows, grays, whatever, I think those are always devalued for some reason, and I don't really understand why. They're always
not neon colored.
But they are though. My lemon male, dude, he is
lemony,
white, yellow, like he's nice, man. You know, the moonshine stuff with yellow rats. They're nice. They're crazy looking, man. But they just have
from Tony D shed the other day. And I just had to stop and stare at that thing for about 5 minutes because I was like, my God.
Yeah. But it's like, it's stuff like, you know, I've got an intergrade. Everybody knows about my intergrade. This thing is nice. It's so nice. It's a yellow gray intergrade. This thing is just.
You mean a grayish rat?
No. Don't even get me started. But it's like this pink animal, you know. In the corn world, pink snakes are, you know, a couple $100. This thing is considered a trash snake by so many people, and just because it's an intergrade, impure, you know, even though it is wild caught, you know, it's a wild caught animal as a baby, but it is so stinking nice.
So was I, Jake.
But so many people would just consider it garbage or, you know, worthless. But to me, that snake is one of the nicest animals I have in my collection, man.
It's so weird to me how fickle people can be when it comes to that stuff. And I mean, even myself, because it's like, I'm not in, like, I like the ultras and ultra male corns.
Yeah.
For a while, I was really like, I like the look of it, but the fact that it was not 100% corn snake just kind of like, it bugs you. It bugs me. I don't know what it is exactly. I just don't like the fact that it's not 100% corn. And it's like, it's small stuff like that, like those and those intergrades that you have, and like those I have one
intergrade. But see, I think there's a difference between it being a corn and an emery eye cross versus a naturally occurring gray and yellow cross.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? Like there's a pretty big gap there.
I'm weird about that. But then we look at chondros.
And nobody gives a shit
problem
about that.
with it. I'm completely okay with it. It doesn't bother me in the least. I don't know. I can't figure out exactly what it is. Because like carpet crosses, I have zero interest in.
Yeah,
I have no interest in carpet crosses of any kind, whether it's like the albino Brettles kind of thing. Like same thing with the ghost alterna. It's like, count me out. But like chondros, hell yeah. Like cross them all, put them all together at the same time.
See, I'm I'm almost the same way, just on a different scale. For me, it's like if it's naturally occurring, it doesn't bother me. Like that integrate I have of the yellow and gray, that's a naturally occurring integrate. You can go and find those. That's kind of where
you're never gonna get an Aru
no,
cross
and that's where
naturally in the wild.
I don't really have it. For me, that doesn't do it for me. Like it really doesn't. If I got into chondros, I would love a pair of pure Jaipuras, or even a pair of Biox just out the gate. Like that. I would
take actually a really nice cross.
Yeah, I would take, but that's
the more
the thing.
I see those, the more I'm on board with them.
I would take a pair of pure Biox before I got a pair of some fucking designers, just because I love locality shit so much.
You say that now.
I know, and I will forever say that. That's why when I bought my lemons, when I got them from Tony D, I was like, hey, these are like pure Jefferson counties, right? He's like, yes, these some people have crossed them. I've even crossed them, but these are not crossed, with anything. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that's good. I'm all about, the pure locality stuff, and whether it be a morph or not, like that's fine. That's why with the morph stuff, I've tried to get I'm trying to get all the morphs within like the locality stuff, the pure forms. But like when it comes to chondros, man, like I would love a pair of pure Arus or Jaipuras way before I got some designer shit, because I think there's selective breeding potential in every locality that somebody else can plug into their designers and crosses.
Sure.
Like
I don't
that's just the way I see it.
That has become a very large gap in green trees, is like people focused on certain localities specifically outside of like the Kofiaus and stuff. It's become so much about the designer stuff, which I mean, I have no issue with that either. I like designer stuff just as much as I like locality stuff.
They're beautiful, man. They're super pretty, but there's a
serious lack of attention given to the locality stuff, at least within the last, handful of years. I think at one point, however long ago, early 2000s, mid-aughts, whatever, like I think there were more people that are a little more focused on the locality thing and keeping things pure. And there still are a couple, but you just don't see it nearly as much with you do the designer stuff. And it's like, that's something that Billy Hunt has talked about that I agree with. He's like, everyone's gotten so preoccupied with the already existing lines in chondros, that he's like, people need to, if they were smart, they'd start working on like doing their own thing with like locality stuff, like forming their own line and trying to like do something new. Like he's like, there's no one really trying to do anything fresh and existing, like non-existent in chondros. It's all like chasing the same blood.
That's the thing with that. Like chasing the same bloodlines is fine. We're not saying that's a bad thing. But where I'm at with it is if you start your own like locality stuff on the side, it's not going to be considered a line until you pop out a sickness animal, like nobody's ever get their own line, until they pop out something crazy. But
that also takes effort.
I feel like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not downplaying anything.
No, I'm saying like you don't get there without trying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you line breed certain localities for certain looks, whatever, and then you plug that into your designer cross, and then it can potentially create something completely different because you have line bred. We've talked about this a million times before, but if you do your line breeding of localities and then cross it into something, that is already crossed, it could make something that has never been seen before. That's why, like me, I'm not into crossing stuff. Everybody else is. I want to make something really nice that's pure and then let you cross it into something and make something fucking crazy. Because then I played a part in that. No, it's not going to be
give you the ingredients.
Because I didn't produce it. But like stuff with you, like, I think the Ladies Island corns are a perfect example. You know, you've already seen the results of plugging some of that Ladies Island stuff into some morphs and seeing the difference in that. So if you know, imagine like once you really start breeding the Ladies Island stuff and then plug it in, you know, give it 3, 4, 5 generations of line breeding these localities of Ladies Islands and then plug it into a morph. That could change the game completely, man. You know, like it may not make a new morph, but it could make a ghost corn or a pied corn or whatever look completely different. Imagine your castanhas in 10 years once you start plugging that into your Ladies Island stuff. I bet you they'll look completely different than any castagna in the market. You know, like that's just
or
kind of
when I throw some of these babies back together in 4 years.
exactly,
Those Het
you
Motley,
know.
Het Castagnas. Because I'm
Yeah.
saving like 1.2. I'm holding back like 1.2 of those.
Because those got crossed into Ladies Island stuff, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly, man. I bet you those will look unlike any other corns in the hobby
We'll
because
see.
because these Ladies Islands just have a such unique look to them, man. Like that's where like everybody wants the short term, you know. They
Yeah.
want to get something. They want to get something pretty now, you know. Like start looking 5, 10 years down the road, man. And what you could get
That's
the
hard for a
differences.
lot of people to do. You know, like you
It is.
really gotta like something to stick with it that long. I think that's the
Yeah.
differentiating thing because I'm fairly convinced that's the reason Castagna in particular didn't really get a ton of attention to begin with. I think it's the fact that it's simple recessive, but also the fact that probably around a similar time where that came in, which I want to say was like circa 2006 ish. Could have been 2011. For some reason, those 2 years are sticking out to me.
Yeah.
Other codom, I say codom, I mean incomplete dominant. Let's not. When I say codom, it's the short form
Yeah.
version of that. So
We don't have to
I
split
think
hairs.
other like that stuff kind of came into the picture, and people were like, "Oh, I can breed this one generation in and see results immediately. Like, sign me up." And so, like, a lot of that simple recessive stuff, I think, kind of got pushed to the side in lieu of like,
Yeah.
you know, your red factor stuff, your buff stuff, like not even buff necessarily, because I don't think buff is really given much attention anymore either. But you know, all the stuff that you saw the results within the first clutch.
Right.
You know, people were more apt to go for that rather than the thing that's going to make them, you know, it's going to take,
Right.
you know, 6 to 8 years to see results from.
But see, I think like even with like your recessive stuff, the recessive stuff obviously takes longer, you know, that's a little bit harder work. But I think when you mix a specific line bred locality
Yeah.
into that, it makes it even more different, man. And I think that's just where things change, you know, as far as, you know, are you in this for the long run or are you trying to make a quick buck? You know, me, this is going to sound stupid, but this is my retirement plan. Like if I continue my job, I can retire before I'm 50. You know, if it goes my way, I'm going to retire when I'm 49 years old and I'm going to breed snakes to the day I die as a full-time job. Whether it works out like that or not, I don't know. But for me, if I can establish my stuff to make all
Well,
the
you
shit
get the
different
foundation
by
for that
then,
now.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, get that foundation in and then look ahead and do something else nobody else is doing. You know, like I think your Ladies Island stuff mixing, you know, it's a little different with me because I don't really work with morphs like that. So it's gonna be a little harder for me. But you working with locality corns and then mixing that into morphs, dude, in 10, 15 years, you could have the same morph as everybody else, but make it look just night and day fucking different, man. Like it's
Well, to me, that's the exciting part is not knowing if
yeah.
that's going to be the case or not.
Yeah. No, and it could definitely be a bust. You know, they could look
Predictability is
exactly the
nice, but
same.
there's also I like the excitement of not knowing what I'm
Yeah.
going to get, and I think that comes from the chondro factor of things, where it's like you have no idea if it's going to be just a bunch of green snakes or if you're going to get something that looks, that's got like 6 different colors going on. I like that, not knowing, but there is something to be said for predictability and having had, now with that hypo batch, of both clutches and not really knowing exactly what I was looking at, it does kind of suck because if you don't know the hets on stuff, it makes it really difficult to know for sure what's going on. And then when you're trying to sell them and saying like, I have no idea exactly what all is what pieces are missing from this puzzle, but they look nice, it sucks. But
right.
I mean, you also think like the lines that exist now, the reason they exist is because someone did exactly what we're talking about, where they saw some snakes they liked and they bred them, and then they continued to breed those and build upon it. And now there's a reason there's Love lines and Abbott lines and Sherman lines and all those things. It's because they were pursued and they were stuck with. And I think you can also just as easily have the best of both worlds. I have my locality stuff that I want to line breed and keep pure, and then I have the stuff of tying it into morphs. The same like with what Billy Hunt does with the Peterson stuff. It's like, or the Carpondros are probably a better example. Like he has green trees, and he's he has the ability, if he so desires, to produce more green trees, but he also has the ability to do Carpondros and Jagpondros.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, like
both.
that's
There's nothing saying you have to stick to one or
Yeah.
the other. It's just a matter of like, at least make it something you're
Right.
really into and that you're willing to be stuck with, in the long term. Like I've got so many castañas now, it's crazy, and like
Yeah.
I've been tempted to get rid of almost everything corn wise that isn't castaña or the locality stuff. And a majority of it I would, and I'd whittle it down a lot to, mostly just the honey stuff, locality stuff, and then the castañas, and probably some of the pied blood reds, because I have that female from Chris that I'll have to put with that male next year, get some nice pied blood reds. It's just
Right.
making sure you with the morphs in particular and stuff, like make it something that you're just excited to look at. Like there's sometimes, man, I walk in that room and I see those bins of castañas and I just got to open the drawers and look at them because they're just like, it's such a pretty morph in such a subtle way.
And that's why I think if you like both locality and morphs, I think you're going to be in the best spot. Like me, I'm really not into the morph game as far as my passion goes. I like locality morphs. I like hog morphs, and that's pretty much where it's at. All those are going to stay pure for me. You can call hog.
You're not going to cross the hogs into the rat snake localities.
Okay, we're not even going to go into that.
Try it,
but
see what happens.
But what I would love to see is somebody use my locality stuff to plug into something else. It's like, just because I'm not into it doesn't mean somebody else shouldn't be. So it's like, I would love to see somebody say, "Oh my God, like this gray rat,
if anything, you're doing all the heavy lifting."
Yeah, I would love to see somebody say, "Oh, this gray rat or this yellow rat looks amazing. I'm going to plug it into this morph and see what it does." I would love to see that. That's not my thing, so I don't really care to do that. But if somebody else does, fucking awesome, man. I would love to see that and see what my locality stuff can do to your morph projects. Like, that would be so cool, like my locality morph stuff. Like, yeah, I'm going to try and line breed those for certain, or selectively breed those for certain traits and etc. I'm going to try and make my morphs better. I'm going to keep them pure, so I'm not going to do all this crazy crossing. But if somebody else has that, then I would absolutely love to see it, man. It's just one of those things. And I think popwing carpets are a really good example of that. Again, I'm just not into popwing carpet morphs. Like, I'm not a big morph guy, but I would love to see somebody say, "Oh my God, like this carpet looks amazing. I want to see what it looks like with granite in it. And I want to see what that looks like. I want to see what it looks like with Xanthic. I don't want to do it because that's just not my cup of tea. I want to make the best looking normals I can make. but I want to see what you can make with them with your morphs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or even your crosses, you know, whether it be, you know, hypo, jag, whatever. Like, I want to see what you make with my stuff. You know, like that's my goal. I want to be the base for somebody else because it's what I love and it's what I'm going to do. Like, it's just where my passion lies. And, you know, we preach all the time about do what makes you excited. Morphs don't make me excited. That's just one of those things. Hogs, yeah, hog morphs kind of make me excited. I like hogs. I like hog morphs. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. I have a very small number, but whatever. But as far as everything else, like it just doesn't really do it for me. So I would love to see people use my stuff in their morph projects just to see what comes out, just to make that animal that looks completely different than anybody else's, you know? So
Money is temporary, glory is forever.
it's not even for glory, man. Like I just want to see people do awesome things and,
It would be cool just to be able to look
achieve
back
their
and
goals.
say, like, you know, because
I
decided
played a part
to
in
do
that.
something 10 years ago, like I helped.
Yeah.
You know, my name is attached to it somewhere
Right.
along the line. You know.
Yeah, for sure. I don't care to be the guy to make the first morph, but I would love to be the guy that helps somebody else make a morph look a whole lot different. You know, like that's my goal, man.
I'm excited about.
What are you excited about, buddy?
Hopefully making captive bred Beox again.
That would be awesome, man. Yeah, that's something you didn't talk about. Your new female Beox. Let's what's going on with that?
Yeah, so a local guy was he's moving here soon, and so he has a very small collection of stuff, and he had a green tree that he was trying to move, and he had it posted for a while, since like April, and he hadn't really had any bites on it yet. And so I finally, you know, I hit him up. I was like, anybody grab that yet? And he said no. And he made me a deal on it that I couldn't really pass up.
Yeah.
And got a 5-year-old female Biak. That is so far. Katie's watching me right now as I'm telling this story. Anyways, huh? I didn't say nothing. I said you're watching me as I tell the story. None. There was that one, and then the one from Olsen. That is 2.
That's 2. It's a very small dent in the grand scheme of things.
She knows how much I got it for, and even she has to admit that was like a steal.
That was a steal, dude. That cage was almost worth what you paid for it. Like,
I emptied the cage. Is empty. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it.
Dude, put it on the Facebook page, man.
Interwebs. I gotta clean it.
Yeah.
It needs a new lid.
Like I said, you could almost make your money back what you paid total just by selling that cage. For sure. With how much exoterras are nowadays. Like, yeah.
And it wasn't like I hustled him out of a snake or anything like that. Like he offered a price and I took it. So
yeah. No, it's not. He definitely didn't do anything bad. But
what? Yeah. It's 2. No, I said he made me an offer and I took it. Get.
Go on now, get.
Tell it all the time. She starts talking smack. Get. Notice how I'm whispering that when I say that. Right? Now she's like, stop. I'm not whispering. I'm not mumbling under my breath. Can you even hear her?
Yeah, I can hear a little bit.
Oh. I love you. I'm not. Anyways, 5-year-old Biak female. Got her quarantined and stuff, and I mean, she like no signs of mites or no signs of any respiratory issues. Like she's very much well fed. Like she's almost the same size as that big female that I had a couple of years ago that gave me that first clutch.
That's a big snake.
She's an absolute monster. So sort of back on track for hopefully some chondro breeding. I have the other ones are still together. They haven't shown any interest in each other lately, so still just kind of in a holding pattern with them. But
do you want that?
It's good.
Do you want that 4x2x18 cage back for her?
If I can find room for it.
I mean, stack it either under or over one of your other 4x2 cages.
Right now,
it's still sitting in my garage, and I really don't need it. So if you want it back,
she's in because I kept all my Python portals because I'm smart and didn't throw them away like someone urged me to.
I didn't urge you.
I was not you. I'm talking about my wife. I was putting them in the attic. She's like, "Why are you even keeping these?" I'm like, "Because I'll probably need them."
You never know.
And here I am, digging one out of the attic the other day and cleaned it up.
There you go.
And she has 2 perches in that thing, and one of them's like 1/2-inch PVC or 1/3-inch PVC, and the other one's like the size down from that. And she's been sitting on that, and that thing is flexing.
Oh, jeez.
I had to put like screw-in perch holders from Brahms because the magnetic ones could not hold her up. And those magnetic ones are supposed to be able to hold like 10 pounds.
There's no way that thing's 10 pounds. There's no way.
I'm saying like maybe it's 10 pounds on 2 of them, so like 5 pounds. So like she was on one side, like those things would just like slide down the glass. So either way, I had to swap those out for something that could support her because she's huge.
I need to come see her, man. That's a big snake.
She's a beast.
That's awesome, man. Well, if you make more Beox, I might be inclined to snap one from you. I might. I have an itch for a chondro or 2 just to hold on to, basically for you. I don't really want to breed them, but I want to have some on deck to plug into your stuff. So
we'll see.
If you make some.
Again, like I'm open to trading a very large chunk of corns for even like a baby Beox import. Like I'll roll those dice. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared.
Anybody's listening to this, I'd be willing to bet.
Let them know.
You can make a lot more money on a big group of corns for a single baby Beox than the other way around.
That's a very good point.
Just saying.
It's a very good point.
I don't know. We'll see. But
that's cool though, man. Like I'm glad that worked out. You know, I know you've been itching to produce some chondros again, so it's good that it seems like that might be in the cards here.
2019 when I hatched that first clutch.
Yeah,
like a freaking lifetime ago.
Yeah, 2019 because you produced your first clutch of chondros, and I produced my first clutch of carpets the same year. That was 2019. Yep. Pretty much back to back too. They almost hatched at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's so funny thinking back to that. I still remember like the moment you called me and exactly what you said. I saw you call me because it was getting close, and I answered, and I was like all eager. I was like, "Hello," and you just said, "They're here."
They're here
because they started pipping, and I immediately drove to your house just to look at them starting to pip, and that was funny.
Little red worms.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. And look at us now, a bunch of
those were the
breeders.
Days.
A bunch of Calibra breeders now.
A bunch of nerds.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
Well, was there anything else we were wanting to feel upon?
I was going to ask you kind of if there's anything else you wanted to add, but we'll save that for another one-on-one later down the road. I think we covered enough for tonight.
Yeah,
so
good.
Talk about future stuff down the road. I think one thing I do want to do moving forward is do a few more one-on-ones instead of trying to get somebody last minute. Let's just do one-on-one and just kind of shoot the shit. So I think this was good. That's what we did this week, and I definitely enjoy it. So we'll save a few other topics for next time.
That's right.
But so this has been episode 201, our first one after our 200 episode. And as always, this episode is brought to you by blackboxcages.com. If you're listening on YouTube, I have a whole stack of BlackBox behind me, complete with XR16, XR20, the V76 stack, V73 stack. It's all there. Best of the best. Best PVC racks in the industry, bar none. They're absolutely fantastic. You will not be disappointed. So check them out. Make sure to use code THN at checkout. Save yourself 10% off. And that money does not go to us, just so everybody knows. That is just for THN listeners and anybody who wants to get a little discount on their stuff. It'll save you a lot on shipping. Or you can also pick up if you're in the relative Georgia area. It's definitely worth it. Me and Justin make the drive 4.5 hours there, 4.5 hours back, about every year to go get our pickups. And it's absolutely worth it. So if you're within a good driving distance, there is a pickup option at checkout. So if you can do that, save yourself some gas money. Use THN code THN at checkout. And then, as always, we have our fantastic sponsor, Steve Snaketuary. Steve has been there with us from the beginning almost. He does amazing stuff with he's got Steve Snaketuary hot sauce. You can get all kinds of stuff. We love the cottonmouth sauce.
Yeah.
We need to get some updated sauce. We still need to try the coral snake that he dropped a while ago. We have not tried that. Everything else we have tried. I'm not a hot sauce guy by any means, but I loved every single one of these. They were very, very good. So if you're not a hot sauce person, you want some flavor in your life, give them a shot. They're amazing. They're all very, very good. Steve does some amazing stuff, rehabilitation, public outreach, all that good stuff. So check him out. He's also a first responder. And as always, check out Fulvius Apparel with my boy, Justin. Oh man, you got to check it out because he just dropped the newest and greatest, most badass shirt he's made yet. It is Obsoleta Anarchy shirt. It is badass, featuring a photo that yours truly took. And I feel very honored that picture made it onto a shirt because that's probably the best picture I've ever taken in my life. So very glad that's on there. Check out all of his stuff. He's got some awesome equipment doing stuff that nobody else is really doing. I told him from the get-go, dude, you gotta do this. You gotta fill that niche because nobody else is really doing it, making custom, reptile art, apparel. We all love it. If you like reptiles, you're gonna love anything he's got to offer, and he's probably got something in a species that you keep. So that makes it even
many
better.
more to come. There's about 1 million files on my computer of stuff that I haven't even started working on that I have saved that I'm got a plan for. So,
and you've covered so many species now because like I'm one of those people. If I don't keep a species, I'm not going to get a shirt dedicated to it. So if you are also like that, still check it out because he probably has at least something you keep. So I feel like a poser if I
need
got
to have
like
more
a rhino shirt or something.
More non-snake related stuff is what I'm sort of more focused on right now. Is trying to get more.
Oh, you want to go hit the general public? Okay.
No, well, no, not necessarily. I just want to diversify more because a lot of the stuff on there is like snake related currently. There's a couple of things that aren't. I need to expand a little bit.
Do you mean like more lizard related? So just more general
inverts.
I got you. So just more herp and creepy crawly related.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Well, definitely check out everything he's got to offer, y'all. It is the best of the best. Justin doesn't like to think he's an artist of any kind, but I can assure you he is posting some amazing stuff. And check it out. You will not be disappointed. There's 100% something for you on there. So,
I believe we'll be back Monday for Snakes and Stogies.
yeah.
We didn't do it this week because Phil is herping with the NPR guys.
So jealous, man.
That
I
bastard.
wish I could be down there. Wish I could be down there, but trying to do my own herping around here, which I got absolutely crushed last weekend with finding a dead pygmy, which was also the largest pygmy I have ever seen in my life. I've seen a lot of pygmies in Florida. This thing was an absolute dump truck, and it was a DOR,
A flat dump truck,
still moving. It was still moving. We passed the truck that hit it, and it was beyond upsetting. But I also found my cane brake for the year out there, so that was great. But hopefully more to come this year as weather kind of changes. But we'll see.
Hogtober, we're in the middle of it.
Yes, sir. Hogtober. We'll see if we can't get one. So,
I haven't seen one in a while.
I haven't seen one.
I used to see hogs pretty regularly. I haven't seen one in a minute.
I never found them regularly until like the last several years. I usually found at least one a year. This year I have not seen one. So hopefully that changes in Hogtober, but we'll see. Because if anybody knows me, I love hognose snakes. Those are definitely like top 3 favorite native snakes here.
Eastern hogs. So,
yes.
So everyone knows.
If I found a southern hog, I would probably actually piss my pants. But that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But as always, thank you everybody who tuned in this week and listens. We appreciate all the support. And you know, I got a lot of feedback from the 200 episode. A lot of people saying congrats, and I cannot thank y'all enough for supporting the show over the last, God knows what, 6 years now. So it really means the world. So thank you all for listening and continuing to listen. So,
yeah.
With that, we bid you a good night.
Bye.